Okay, we'll have a question on the board. So look at the board. We'll have integration and we'll have differentiation. Very simple. In fact, I understand that, especially if you go to government school, children usually fear this topic, and it's very simple. Now let's look into it. Let me even tell you, differentiation is the opposite of integration, and both of them are very simple. What is the formula for differentiation? You all know y is equal to, let me say, y is equals to y is equals to b x raised to power n. Now, it will give us, the formula will give us n, the power here will come down and multiply the coefficient, which is the function, n times b, then x raised to power n minus 1. You understand? This is what it will give you, definitely. So, but in the control, and again, another thing you should notice is that any number without variable, any function without variable x, or any number without the function x, if you integrate it, it will just give you what? The number. You understand? If you integrate this thing, what you will have is just the number. Why? Because you have x. What this is power 1. 1 times 5 is 5. That's times 1, x 1 minus 1, which will give us 1 times 5 is 5. This raised to power will give us x raised to power 0. Anything raised to power 0 is 1. 5 times 1 will give us 5. So now, but that's not the place I'm going to. That's not what I'm looking at. If you have any number without function, if you have any number without, for example, just 5, yeah, if you ask to differentiate 5, the answer will give us 0. You understand? So with this, let's go straight to the question. So now, with this, having the question, I will integrate this, but let me differentiate everything here before I will come and integrate it. To differentiate this, it means the question here is y. You know that integration will write y is equal to what? 5x minus 2x. Now, very simple. So let's differentiate each of them. So which will be having 3 times this is 15, and x 3 minus 1 will give us what? 3 minus 1 will give us 3 minus 1 will give us 2. So this will give us 2 minus this power. The power here is 1. 1 times this will give us 1 times 2 is 2. X raised, then you do 1 minus 1 is what? 0, which means x raised to power 0 is x raised to power 0 is 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. This is the answer to this question. Now, one thing you should notice about this is just like I said, is opposite. The coefficient of this function increased, but in integration, the coefficient will definitely decrease. We'll multiply by the power, but in integration, we'll divide by more of the current power. You know, we'll form a current power. What's the current power? If the power was, and you know, here the power reduces, but in integration, the power increases. In integration, we'll add 1. In differentiation, we'll minus 1. Please pay attention. In integration, see integration here, the formula for integration, the power of integration, we'll have, imagine you have x, let me solve it this way. This question we'll have here. So I have to solve this question. Now, the solution to this question will give us, here what you do is, instead of minusing 1, you add 1, and you now have 5x. If you add 1, it will give us what? 4. You divide by what? 4. You see, the other one will multiply by 4. Here we are dividing by, we'll multiply by the coefficient, and we'll multiply by the power, and the power reduces in this one, but here the power increases. Here the coefficient reduces, but here the coefficient increases because we are going to multiply and have 15. But here the coefficient reduces because you're going to divide. So if you do this, what you're going to have, this is actually definitely your answer for this one. Then you do minus. This will have, if you add 1 to it, you know that this one is already having existing 1. Any coefficient without any power is actually power 1. So we'll have 2, this one, we'll be having 2x raised to power, what? 2, because 1 plus 1, all over that current power, which is 2. 2 cancel 2. Your answer here is going to give us x raised to power 2. X raised to power 2. Yes. This is how simple it is. You see that in the previous, what we'll get in the previous, see what we got? Here we'll have, sorry, if you minus this, yes, this is the answer. But here, see what we got. Here we got 2, here we got just x raised to power 2. And I hope you know what we did here. Very simple of what we did. I said here, in differentiation, that's this integration. What we did is, instead of, we added 1 to the coefficient is already 1, so we added 1, then divide the whole thing by the current power, which is 2. The formula says x is equal to See what the formula says here. The formula of gives us the coefficient. It will multiply this thing. You have n is equals to n plus 1 all over this current coefficient, this current power, which is plus constant. That's if necessary, but this is just what the formula states. So with this, you can always solve this. Whereas this formula states x plus, let's assume that it has coefficient of b. And here, you still have coefficient of b. So the coefficient remains the same. This is times the coefficient. Times the coefficient. So here we have x is equals to n minus 1. And that same n, you are multiplying here by n, not the n minus 1. You're multiplying here by n. There's no division in this one. You get the difference here. So with this, you can always solve every question. The answer to this question is this. And the answer to this question is this. To solve this one, in integration, what you do in integration is to do x8, bring the x and just add x. So it becomes 8x. That's for integration. For what? Integration. But if you are differentiating this, the answer is definitely giving you 0. Because 8 itself, if you are asked to do y is equal to 8, and because it doesn't have function, there is no x here. So the answer will give us 0. But in the contra, if this is integration, it will give us 8x. This is where it will appear. It will give us 8x. Any number without a function, any number without a variable, which is x, in integration, you add just as simple, just add the variable x, and that's your answer. In fact, you can go further to get it plus coefficient, plus constant, which is x. If you didn't see 8x in the option, then you see 8x plus c. Now, with this, you can be able to solve this too. Now, let me equally solve this. You know, if this is if this is differentiation, what you're going to have is 7, this thing times this, which gives us 28. Then x minus 1 from this, you have what? 3. That is what we would have gotten if it is differentiation. But since it is integration, what are you going to have? You're going to have rather this. You have 7x 4 plus 1. In that one, we minus 1. But here we plus 1. So if you plus 1 divided by, what do you get? What is the current power now? 5 divided by 5. So we'll be having 7x raised to the power 5 all over 5. 5 cannot divide it, so this remains your answer. So you can even go as far as saying 7 over 5 x raised to the power 5. Or you can even put point. So this is just your answer. So now let's work on this, which will be the last question. Or should I ask you to solve this? But however, let me solve it. Now, if you ask to do this, if you ask to solve this question, very simple. What you have to do here is to integrate each of them if you are solving integration, or differentiate each of them if you are solving differentiation. To differentiate this, you know you do minus. You remove 1 from this in differentiation. In fact, the easier way to remember what to do is, in normal mathematics, difference means minus. You understand what I'm saying? Difference means minus. So with that, you can record that you're minusing in differentiation. So minus 1 from this, you'll be having, before you minus, use the power to multiply this. If you multiply this, you have 6. Then 6x minus 1 from it, you'll be having what? 1, which is just x. Plus, now, 1 times 5 give us 5. Then you now do, because it already have 1. 1 minus 1 is what? 0. Any number raised to the power 0 is 1. So x raised to the power 0 is 1. So this is your answer in what? Differentiation. And do well to, if you don't understand anything, or if I believe you understood something, but if you have anything you don't understand here, please type it down in the comment section. Do well to share, repost, like, and encourage us. The way you can only encourage us is by sharing and liking this video. Tell people to follow us. I love you guys. Bye.